Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Sahela Phillips, the Membership and Engagement Manager, and we're delighted to have you with us. Today we're joined by Martín Chamorro, who will be exploring how generative AI and large language models like ChatGPT, Gemini or Claude can enhance the work of professional translators. You will gain a structured introduction to these tools, including practical guidelines and a live interactive session with the platform of your choice. Before we dive in, just a few quick housekeeping points. If you have any questions during the session, please add them to the questions section. We'll aim to address as many as possible, with most being answered during the Q&A at the end. At the start, there will be a couple of polls, so we'd love it if you could participate in those. And after the webinar, all attendees will receive an attendance certificate and a link to the recording within 2 working days. Lastly, CIOL members, you can log this session in My CPD. Now I'd like to welcome Martin. Hi, Martin.
Hi, Sohaila. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. A mix of excited and a bit nervous, of course.
Oh, no, we're delighted that you could be with us today.
Thank you
Just
so
to
much.
say, it's amazing that we've reached 900 registrations for this
Wow.
webinar. So it's clear it's a topic that everyone is eager to explore.
Well, let's hope this will add more to our toolbox and spark conversation and more interaction too.
Fantastic. I'm sure it will. So I'm going to
Thank
pass
you.
controls over to you now, and then I will confirm when we can see your slides.
Let's see screen, uh, just in case the sound.
Fantastic. We can see your first
Okay.
slide. So over to you.
Thank you very much, Sohaila, and thank you very much for to everyone who is interested in this presentation, for signing up and for showing up today, and for watching the recording. You may be watching this as at a later time. This presentation is called "Making AI Work for Translators." You're going to see me like this because I have 2 screens, so I'm watching at my second screen. So let's get started because we have quite a few things to do today. This is a snapshot of what we are going to do today. Please have any devices that you have at hand ready because we're going to be going forth and back a lot. If you don't, or if you don't want to, it's okay. You can just watch, but you have, the options. First of all, I would like to ask you to go to Slido to scan this QR code. If you go to Slido, you should type in slido.com and use this code, okay? 3615146. I'm going to expand this. So you can do this from your mobile phone, from your computer, or from the device of your choice, okay? And we can I would like to ask you a few questions. The first one is going to be a very informative and very useful one, and that is, what are your working languages? I work from English into Spanish, okay? But I already see that we have a variety of languages. And this is very interesting because, when it comes to artificial intelligence language or linguistic models, we have some languages that work better in some platforms and some others that work better in other platforms. We have a lot of English, we have a lot of French, Spanish, German, and so on, Polish, Italian, Chinese, Greek, Arabic, Dutch, Bulgarian, Latvian, oh, sorry, and many other languages. I read um, in some of the responses also that we have Belarusian, Azerbaijani, Hebrew, Polish, Czech, Turkish. Wow, this is amazing. This is going to be really interesting. Okay, so of course, if you want, sorry, I can share the results with you. Um, we have some more participants typing. We're going to give them a few more seconds. Meanwhile, you can see on the screen all the responses. Welsh, wow. And then we'll move on to the next question. Catalan, um, Chinese, etc. Okay, so let's check out the next question. Thank you so much for participating. So, how much do you use AI platforms nowadays? And this is going to be an interesting one too. I was expecting, I was kind of expecting that response. The face with the hearts is a lot, and the face with a worried expression is not so much or not at all. So we see, wow, we see a variety of users. It's quite even, we can say, okay. Um, but this has been evolving with time, and it's really nice to see that we have today, an audience that has a variety of responses. So we will hopefully have a lot of interesting stuff for everyone. Let's move on to the last one. This is the last one question. The last question. What use would you give to AI technologies? And this is looking forward, okay? Not what you did today with AI, but what would you like to do at a later stage? Maybe, I don't know, second half of the year, next year, or maybe you are waiting for automation software or tool that helps you doing something. A colleague was saying the boring stuff, that they can do the boring stuff for you and so on. I will try to read some of the responses, but of course you see a snapshot of what they look like. But terminology research is a very interesting one. Research assistant, the larger ones are the ones that are kind of repeated. Text explanation, word analysis, assist me with my work. This assist is a key word in the whole situation. Brainstorming, giving me advice, research and improvement, personal assistant for anything, repetitive work, automate tasks, and so on. Okay, so we still have several people typing, so we are going to wait a little bit to have our cloud more populated. Of course, translation. But then we will go back to the presentation and to continuing with our contents, okay? Information gathering tool, QA, tags is, I think one key point for improvement in AI developments, providing ideas, spelling and grammar checks, and so on. Okay, thank you very much for that. Let's go back to where were we here? This is the slide. So this again, I'm going to show you the picture of this. This is some information about me. My name is Martin, or Martin, however you would like to call me. I'm from Argentina, and I am a technical translator from English into Spanish, and I do a lot of different stuff. So that's more information about me. This presentation is going to be speaking to you from the technical translation of informative texts from English into Spanish. That's my point of view. So it's going to be at times comprehensive and at times quite limited. And the objectives of this presentation are going to be to provide information, resources, and to help you take this to your real life, not just to go beyond this presentation. And I would like to dedicate this presentation to Sofia Herrero, one dear colleague that used to be my student that's always supporting, to Valeria Vitali as well, Sohaila Phillips, who just spoke to you, a great logistics um, colleague, and colleagues Nicolas and Dominic also too, and to you. Thank you very much for being here. Okay, Sohaila mentioned this. You can use the questions dialog. We're going to use some LLMs, the one that you like best, because you may be already using, I don't know, Claude or Gemini, and so I don't want to restrict everything to ChatGPT. I will be using ChatGPT in general, like most of the time. We will use a shared file, which is the one that's on the chat. And if you haven't seen it yet, I'll show you in a little bit. And you may want to have some of your own material, because using my material may be a little boring at times, or I don't know, if you don't work with English or Spanish, maybe you want to use something else. So if you are on your computer, or maybe if you want to rewatch the recording and have your material ready beforehand, this is going to make this experience even more productive for everyone. Okay, so before we dive into the practical part, let's go over some jargon and some key functions that are all over the place. Let's try and put them a bit in order for everyone to share a common basis, Well, we have all uh, heard of AI or Gen AI or generative AI. In this presentation, we will be using that term as meaning the same, generative AI, with like the technologies that bring us, for example, chatbots and so on. Okay. LLM, or large language model, is the engine behind all this. I usually say it like that. I usually say model, or I usually name the brand. And either of those is going to be the way I refer to that. API key, if you have a paid service, is going to be your password to using your LLM in your applications or in different situations. A prompt is the key, the key that we have in our hand for everything we do with AI. It's the instruction we give to the model. Generation is what the model does, okay? Taking from many different sources, but basically that. Token, like we were saying with my dear colleague Nora Diaz, is kind of the currency of LLMs. So instead of measuring stuff in words, it is measured in tokens, okay? Hallucinations, we have seen many weird things happening when we interact with the AI. So hallucination would be defined as kind of the non-expected results. But sometimes we are asking the model to hallucinate, so the hallucination, is not such a strict term. Okay, so I have recently acquired this term, which is really interesting, which are guardrails, which are basically measures and elements that we include in our instructions, so that the river flows its course and it doesn't overflow. So this is a really interesting one too. And some key functions that we as translators, reviewers, and of course this can be applied to interpreters, can do with AI. For example, generate information or extract or transcribe the information. For example, we can copy and paste an image or a PDF file with like highlighted text and have the model do stuff for us based on that document. We can do writing, research, and so on. Okay, we can transform the generation from the model. And in this transformation, we can include expand, reduce, and so on, and translate, okay? So translation could be considered as a transformation of text, okay? In terms, speaking in the mindset of the large language models, okay? We can review, someone mentioned proofreading and so on, so we can also do that. And now is the time to go to our interactive file. For you to not worry about this, this is going to be the only purely collaborative step where everyone is, it's okay if we erase stuff, if we misplace the information somewhere, don't worry. It's only this step, and then the rest is going to be copying and pasting information, okay? So I would ask you to go to the website of, for example, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, etc. Maybe I would like to know if you are using other chatbots or other technologies that go beyond these, because nowadays there's thousands of different options. So I would like to know, especially to ask the ones that mentioned that they use AI a lot, what other names they can mention, just on the one hand to know, and on the other hand for colleagues to know that is useful. And then I'm going to ask you to go to this link, bit.ly/CIOL25, CIOL25. I'm going to move out of this slide to go to the file, but at any point, you're going to see the same information right here on top. And also, Sohaila pasted the information on the chat. And I forgot to ask, but in case it doesn't show up for the people who entered the meeting later, maybe Sohaila, I would ask you to paste the information. And if not,
Sure.
if it stays there, that's great.
That's fine.
All right.
I'll do that now.
Thank you. So what I'm going to ask you is to go to the file, to this file, and to go to the first column. You're going to see that on the first column, it reads your name and initials, okay? And you see a lot of like kind of acronyms. Actually, those are the initials of colleagues and other participants that have already entered the file. Okay, so for now, we would need. I would ask you to go to the first column of the document and write your initials. After that, please remember the line, the row where you wrote your initials. For example, I wrote MC, okay? And stay on that line, okay? I see someone called Nora F, and I'm suspecting that's Nora Fiorini. Thank you so much. I saw you also on LinkedIn, so thank you so much for joining today. Okay, so we have, quite a few people, like 90 people participating here. The next thing I'm going to ask you, okay, after completing that information, I'm going to add 2 rows here to show you what I'm going to ask you. Please fill the information that you see stated on top of each column, okay? And as a key, I have already completed 2 of the rows, okay? I show you here, for example, on row 5, we have the initials MC. And we have, this is kind of, if someone has played Mad Libs, this is kind of a Mad Libs sort of situation. So a mood of state of mind or state of mind, a proper name, any gender, a descriptive adjective, a verb of movement, a fictional noun of something, okay? Another adjective, another noun, a verb in the ing form, and a noun or phrase. So with this, we're going to have a first encounter with our large language model. So for example, if you are YX, I would ask you to go to the line 14 and start completing the information there on that line, okay? So I see that, for example, CT wrote a mood, curious, a proper name, Carlos, a descriptive adjective, curious too, and so on. Okay, so you can go to your computer and complete that information. Okay, AP said sulky,
Martin,
Marlon, red. Yes,
just to say, we've got quite a few people basically saying that they can't add their initials. I have asked them to use another field, however, it's still not working for them. So, do you have any tips? Is it
let
maybe
me see.
because others are in that particular field, so they have to use a different row, maybe?
Oh yeah, maybe they might want to start by route 102 or 103, which are the
Okay,
ones that are free. Because it's with so many people interacting, it's probably that some of them have overlapped and got like
sure.
overridden by someone else. So, but you can do that, okay? Um, so starting by 102 and so on column A, they can write their initials and then stay on that line and complete all the information. As you saw, when you scroll down, you still see the headings, so you're not going to lose track of that if that requested information, you know? I saw that JA wrote their initials on 123. That's a safe spot. And so on, okay? So, well, some of you have already completed this, okay? Um, so we're going to give it like 30 more seconds or so, and we're going to um, show you the next step for this. I see a lot of funny names, SpongeBob. I saw Hufflepuff, Garfield, Minnie Mouse, Rigi Tiki Tavi, and so on. So okay, so for those of you, if any of you has seen on the screen, you have the reactions pane like on the bottom left. I would like to ask you if any of you, maybe you can do a reaction, have played Mad Libs before. Because as I was saying, the idea was to do something like that. Okay, so oh, we have some of you have, some of you don't, some of you haven't. All right, so it's good to know because then I can explain why I did this proposal. Okay, so I'm going to show you now while everyone completes their rows that here we're going to see, let me see, there. For those of you who have completed the challenge, I'm going to ask you to go to column L. For those of you who haven't, just stay where you are and complete, and then you can go to column L, okay? I'm going to modify the size of the type here. Okay. So what I would like to propose, let me see. Is this. We're going to copy this text and take it to our, let's say, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and so on. Okay. And what I am going to ask my model is to help me write a story. Okay. And you know how we have this list of items. Okay. We could number them. Happy would be 1, Linda would be 2, thin would be 3, and so on. So what I want to do is to provide this prompt to the model and to give it the list of the elements and have the model replace the elements in their order of appearance. Okay. So I need your help. This is how I speak to the model nowadays. Okay. To, for example, ChatGPT. I need your help creating a short story, and the instruction is going to be divided into two parts. I'm kind of facing the activity, okay? First, I'm going to give you a paragraph with a list of numbered items. Let's say the placeholders, that 1, 2, 3, and so on. And I need you to replace the numbers of the paragraph with the corresponding element of the list that I'm going to provide you with, okay? And then after that, let's check that that was completed properly. And then I need you to write a short story based on that. Okay, so um, the text to update would be this one. Write a short story in one mood with the following storyline. This is the story of how to, let's say, Linda decided to get and so on. Okay. Please first provide the updated version and then help me write the short story, okay? So what I'm going to do now is to copy the cell. As I stepped on the cell and I kind of right-clicked, did copy, and I'm going to go, for example, okay, we have Claude, we have Gemini, we have ChatGPT, and so on. I'm going to do it in Gemini so that I don't forget to, to drop by, you know. So here is the prompt. But what I'm going to do before pressing send or enter or so on, I'm going to take, for example, the list of the first row, okay? I start with a mood or state of mind, and I go all the way to the last element, okay? So I chose all of this, the complete information, I copy, and I go here. And please bear with me, don't, please hold the temptation of pressing enter or send. We need to organize this information, okay? So see how it reads happy Linda thing, everything together. So what I'm going to do is stand here and press and hold the shift key, press and hold, and press enter or intro to move the stuff to the next line without sending the prompt. I need help with this. Thing go wrong. Okay. Thing go wrong. Red bag eating. And Madman. Okay. So this is what the prompt looks like when I have it in Gemini. Okay. Hello, I need your help with creating a short story. I'm going to give you a paragraph. So I copied and pasted the template prompt, okay? Here is the prompt. First, provide the updated version, and this is the list of elements. Someone may have chosen another list or their own list of elements, okay? So I'm going to click send. And in the meantime, I ask, so far so good? Someone got lost along the way or something? Please let me know. And please don't feel stressed. If you want to follow by watching, it's okay. If you want to keep interacting, it's great. Oh, we see interaction, the reactions there too. So thank you so much. So here's the updated paragraph. First of all, I see that the model transformed that paragraph with the placeholders using the the information that I provided. Words story in a happy, in a happy mood. It kind of highlighted the terms. This will be the story of how Linda decided to get a thin kitty cat and go towards planet Rome. The center of the story deals with how they met a redback that was eating in the middle of a field of madmen and so on. Okay, so here is the short story, and as you see, it kind of italicized the stuff and so on. Okay. Oh, I see some of you are laughing and so on. So thanks so much for that humorous moment. I quickly try with this one, or let's go to Claude with this one and see. You see how in the previous one everyone was like organized and so on. This one is like a bag of information. Let's see what happens if we effectively do this. I'm going to a ver, this one. Exhaustion, Layla, curious walk, Horcrux, eager, linguist, learning, linguistic journey. Okay, this one's going to be interesting. Okay, so all of them look quite funny. Oh, sorry. Linguistic journey. Okay. So there we have. And of course, as we change the model, we're going to see different, on the one hand, different layouts, and on the other hand, different results. Okay. And there we have the story of how Lila decided to get an eager kitty cat and walk towards Planet Horcrux and so on. Okay, all right. So I'm going to do a very tiny modification here. So I'm going to um, show you something that is not the file we were working on anymore. But then I can share this file with you, okay? I'm going to write this, okay? So this we will deal with a bit later. As you may see right now, you continue on the shared file, you can edit it and so on, you can copy paste and so on, all the information. Then I'll send you the key to everything so you can keep practicing and so on. All right, so since we have had our first encounter with the LLM, here are some ideas that could help structure the information and get better responses. Some of you may have tried LLMs and dismissed them on the first day because they were not reacting or behaving the same way, the way you were expecting them to. So maybe if you have done that, this may be a piece of motivation for you to give them a second chance. And if you are already using them, I hope this will add to enhancing your experience. So the the art of prompt crafting, because you never know, first of all, the information we provide the model should be specific, structured. Sometimes it's a lot of information together. Sometimes it's more, tidy and sequential and so on. And of course, we can expect different results. For example, we can specify what languages we're working with, the field of work, who this message goes to, and so on, okay? Using correct spelling and grammar will always help. We may end up with a more elaborate prompt, but it's always a good idea to start small. So maybe just saying translate this will do the job, and sometimes we may want to go further, okay? So guidelines are important, and as I mentioned before, guardrails in terms of how you want the system to behave. Brand, like if you're doing stuff for a company or for your own, your own uh, your own job. It's always good to to kind of guide the conversation, and style and so on. All right. Here are only two scenarios, two very summarized proposals of how a prompt could be formed. And this is not necessarily the formula for success or how it's always going to work. And we don't always need all this information. But when we ask our model to do something, we can provide any, all of or some of these elements. For example, we can give it context. We can say something about us or say something about the model to behave like they are playing some sort of character, their tone, the task, goal, and steps, all that is kind of the center of everything. But of course, we can enhance that by, for example, providing examples. We can ask a specific result, like a table, like, I don't know, flowing text, comma separated file for then importing into another in a program, an XML file, and so on. And the input of, for example, in the case we were checking out before, the input would be the list, apart from the prompt in general, the list of elements that we added to our prompt. So here is and kind of color coded randomly how this would be reflected in a prompt. Okay, so I'm working on a translation from English into Spanish. You, the model, are an expert fisherist, scientist, and researcher. I need you to use a formal tone. Let's say that this is for a conference or for scientists and so on. And I need you to translate the following text. So this is an example of what I would ask it to behave in a specific context, in this case, in the context of a term. The result, sometimes it helps to ask, provide only the translation, and the input is the text to translate is blah, blah, blah. What I am going to do right now is go back to our presentation and paste this text. I'm going to go back to not only the presentation, but to the shared file, which is this one, okay? So you know how we can go back to our shared file for a minute. On the prompt, we have the one that's for the short story, okay? Below that, I'm going to paste what I just copied from the slide. And I'm going to ask you to wait a little bit, please. Just wait a little bit and do the following. Copy everything minus the third to bottom line, okay? So I'm going to copy everything from I'm working on a translation, blah, 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 up to the text to translate is blah. So I'm going to do this. I paste everything that I copied, but I'm going to erase on purpose for now the line that reads fisheries management, gestión de pesquerías into Spanish. And I'm going to ask it to avoid the term administración pesquera. all in English would be avoid using fishing management and prefer fisheries, management, okay? It's not quite the term, but I would like to convey the idea. So I erase that. So the prompt is left with everything but that example, and I'm going to see what happens. The text to translate is fisheries management is relevant for marine ecosystem preservation. And then it says la gestión pesquera, which is the one I was trying to avoid. So let's see if I have it here. I could either, here we have a lot of options. I could either just copy and paste the whole prompt again. I could go here and edit the prompt and add that line. Or what I did here was taking into account that the model will remember what we've been discussing, I'm going to add this information. Fisheries management, gestión de pesquerías, avoid administration, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to go back to that. And here, what I was expecting to happen was that this was gone and this was included, okay? This is a very small example of how we can kind of help improve the you could say the output of the model, okay? So let's go to a bit more complex prompt. For this one, we're not going to be copying and pasting the prompt, but this is going to be included in the worksheet. So if you want to also practice this or use it as your template for something else, of course, you're going to have it later. So here, what I did, you know how I color coded everything, like the context is green, the role is blah, blah, blah. The examples are like the gold, the SDLX gold color. Anyways, I did the same here. I color coded to provide a more idea of what I was doing. And of course, here it's labeled, okay? So I'm going to give you a text in English and in translation into Spanish. Oh, and by the way, this is going to be for proofreading a text, okay? First, ask me for the original text and then ask for the translation. And when I go to ChatGPT, let's say, I'm not going to write context. This is for us. It's like internal discussion, okay? Then the task is what I want the model to do. I need you to proofread the translation, taking the original into consideration, and let me know if you found any mistakes. So taking the original into consideration would imply not a proofread like a monolingual proofreading, but interlingual proofreading, translation proofreading. Okay, so examples, some possibilities of what I would expect as feedback, okay? Spelling, grammar, meaning, figures of speech, or figures of numbers, omissions, unnecessarily added information, among others, okay? After you complete the proofreading report, the result of this, I need you to provide an updated version of the corrected translation and more instructions. For example, in this case, I can ask, you can make a table with the category of revision and the details on the revision and so on. So the source text is going to be this one, and the target text is going to be this one. This is going to be the input, and of course here we have several, intentionally introduced mistakes that we want the model to detect. Okay, so now we are going to go back to our shared file. Okay, and we are going to go, whoever of you who want to do it, to open ChatGPT, Gemini, and so on. This is our sheet. Okay, so I'm going to be copying and pasting from here. All right. As I mentioned before, now we have to move to the tab on the file the tab on the bottom of the file that reads exercise X2, standing for exercise 2, okay? What I did here was provide one prompt. You see that one of the boxes is kind of white and the other one has kind of a gray background, and that is so that we know where one ends and the other starts, with two different types of texts that you can, of course, replace with your own texts, okay? One of my topics of work is, as you may have noticed, is marine ecosystems and stuff. And another one of them is swimming, okay? So, for example, this task that reads up here, number 2, let's see, I'm going to make it a different color. This is going to be a translation prompt, okay? And this is a very straightforward prompt. And sorry if I sound too repetitive. You may provide your own source text, okay? So let's check. I'm going to copy the swimming. Where is it? Mitigation. Oh, here is the swimming. Here. So the one on top, number 5, reads seabird bycatch, and the number 6 reads backstroke swimming. Okay, so I take the backstroke swimming, I go to ChatGPT, I start a new chat. Whoa, we are almost 10 minutes before to the hour. We have discussed this with Sohaila beforehand, and we mentioned that we may go a bit off the hour, okay? With the intention of having this presentation be as interactive as possible. So if you have to leave, you may leave at the hour. If you want to stay a bit longer, you can stay a bit longer. And of course, some stuff is going to be, it's going to stay, undone, but it's going to be there on the worksheet for you to, to check out, let's say. And, but, for now, it's great that we are going forth and back and we get a feel of what we would be doing. And then you can continue. Of course, you can send feedback and so on, okay? So here's a translation. The prompt was quite simple. Translate this text. So here's a translation. La técnica de natación de espalda puede ser desafiante, sin embargo, let's see. This part here, okay, in terms of terminology, would be an interesting one, entrar en empuje y recuperación. Maybe I'll ask it to improve this term, and for flutter kick, in Spanish, we just kind of say kick. And for this one, instead of this term, we use a slightly different one. So what I'm going to do, let me see if it's here. I'm going to provide just a quick instruction. Please say recobro instead of recuperación, and patada instead of patada de batido. Let's see what happens. What should happen here is that the previous version should stay the same with the change of this thing, recuperación for recobro, and this should be updated, okay? So we can check out this text. We can go below, check out this other text, and see this one has been modified to what I asked here. And this one, patada de batido, the long version, was replaced by the short version, okay? All right, this would be one possibility. But now let's take it up a notch, okay? I'm going to create a new tab on our file. I would like to ask if you are still there and if you're following, to see, you know, how this interaction is going. So I added an X3, an exercise 3. Oh, thank you so much for the reactions. Thank you so much. I see some amused faces and so on. So thanks a lot for that. So we are now, the file always the same, bit.ly/CIOL25, okay? We are on the tab called X3 for exercise 3, okay? So the prompt, the base of the prompt is exactly the same as before, but I added this section on both versions of the prompt, okay? On the Seabird bycatch, I added a mini glossary in English, Spanish, and for the swimming, I did the same, okay? And you may notice, and this is something very important too when doing prompting, that there are kind of spaces between chunks of information. And also, in this case, I used literal words for beginning of glossary and end of glossary. This is a very important element or guardrail that can signal, you know, the organization of the information that we are providing. Um, and this, for example, will act as a delimiter of information in the same way as when I said, when I wrote before text to translate and so on, okay? So we have, I'm going to take the prompt on, well, no, sorry about that. I'm going to take the prompt on swimming to, you know, keep consistency with what we've been doing, and you can take the prompt that you like better. In order to start fresh, I'm going to start a new chat with ChatGPT so that the conversation starts from scratch, and I'm going to paste the prompt as it is, okay? Those quotation marks come from the copying and pasting the cell from the worksheet. But see, I see exactly the same text as before, plus the glossary. The the improvements should be that the terminology should work a bit more efficiently and more precisely. And you may have noticed that I'm not focusing on writing, on style and so on right now, but later on we can check out a prompt on what happens when it sounds too literal, you know, this invasion of one language into another by means of their structure, you know, that happens a lot, especially, well, for translation students or professionals, that's quite a common situation. So let's see. La técnica de nodo de espalda, and we see, sorry, I'm speaking Spanish, and I like everyone knows Spanish. I wanted to mention the following. I have provided this mini glossary, and what the model did was signal that they have effectively used the terms by making them bold, okay? So here where we have backstroke swimming technique, which is here, nado de espalda. Well, actually, without the technique part, we have here in swimming, stroke can mean different things, and in this case, it was used properly. Phases or stages. Sometimes it's a varying term in Spanish too. Entrar, retener, empujar, recoro. All the terms look like in the glossary. Okay, they are here. Entry, catch, pull, push, and so on. Swimming style, also another very volatile term. So, okay, so we have the difference between the first prompt and this one is that with this one, we have anticipated some situations, and the first attempt of the model at answering our request was already more desirable, we can say, as compared to the previous one. Okay, so let's move on to our next exercise. How can participants? Oh, someone asked. Thank you for the question. Someone asked, how can participants write questions in the chat? We have to use the GoToMeeting interface, which is where you see the participants chat and so on. And there is one icon on the top right of your screen that has a question mark, and when you get close to that, it reads questions. When you click there, you're going to have a space, and all the way at the bottom there is a prompt that reads a prompt for us that reads submit a question. Okay, so then you can send your question there. The only person able to see that is Sahela. So maybe this is a good moment to ask Sahela if she has a summary or any relevant questions or comments and so on. And if not, we keep moving forward.
Yeah, Martin, we've actually got quite a few questions that have
Oh,
come in. So I'm
okay.
thinking perhaps just because of time, I
Yeah.
don't know, do you want to maybe wrap things up and then we can try and get through as many questions as possible? Would that be okay?
Sure. Shall we do one more prompt, which is
Yeah,
one that was showed up in the cloud, in the word cloud?
no problem, that's fine.
Oh, thank you so much. So I'm going, when you see the worksheet, I'm going to skip to exercise 5, okay, which is called term search, okay? I have really strongly based and inspired this prompt on my dear colleague Stephen Bammel, which is my prompting guru. If you don't know him, boy, I'm going to write it here. You should look him up. He is a brain that's beyond everything in terms of prompting and many other things. So what I did here was take a basic prompt that, of course, we can take further regarding our needs and stuff, which is basically structured in the following way. First, well, I announce what I'm going to provide. I'm giving you a text on the relevant topic. In this case, seabird bycatch, the incidental capture of birds during fishing operations, basically, in the shipping industry, to translate from English, the source language, because then you can replace this, for example, by Korean into, I don't know, Japanese and so on. I don't need the translation of the text for now. I just need to do some terminology research. Okay, let me know when you're ready. This is very Steven. After I give you the text, I'm going to name one element, one term. Okay, and you need to ask me what term I need for research, okay? So after I tell you what the term is, and here comes the task, okay? Please provide the following in relation to the term. First of all, explain the meaning of the term. Provide 5 example sentences in the source language to see if it's applicable to our relevant source language. Then provide 5 different translations of the term, and this is where we can do some follow-up we are going to see later. And then please provide 5 example sentences in the target language. In all these situations, sometimes we get a lot of misleading information and so on, but sometimes we get like the end of the thread, and we can pull and we especially with difficult or like polyvalent or ambiguous terms, we can get a lot of help with these. So the text is the following, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I'm going to copy this prompt. In this case, I took the seabird bycatch prompt. I'm going to do the following before pressing send. First of all, the text I'm not going to include right now. I cut it, okay? I eliminated it from the prompt. And before I do the search, in case it's available, for example, on ChatGPT, sometimes it's available on the paid version, but on Gemini or Claude, it's available everywhere. I'm going to enable the web search, okay? So this goes, a bit further, and maybe I can say that I'm adding this live, okay, which can happen at any time. In all cases, please cite relevant sources, okay? Sorry, I was thinking of the word. So we're going to search the web. We're going to give it the prompt. Please provide a text, blah, blah, blah. And this is asking, explaining what's going to do after I provide the text in case I need to do some modifications. But for now, we're going to leave it as is, okay? So I provide a text, and it supposedly is going to ask me what term I need to do research on. Well, it decided that they're going to do research on night setting. I didn't ask it for anything, but that's okay. Maybe I did need that term, but if I did not, I can just say I can go here, stop, or well, it already finished. I actually needed a bait. Branch line, okay, branch line waiting, okay, the one that was here, this one. So I say that, and it does all the stuff, okay. Thank you for clarifying and so on. So here we have all the steps that I asked: the explanation of the term, 5 examples in English. Please remember that I mentioned the source language in the prompt, and here, since I said the source language was English, it went to English, okay? 5 different translations into Spanish, and 5 example sentences in Spanish, and so on. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a quick look of how I would, take on this task of doing some terminology research. Before wrapping up, I wanted to show you some other examples that we have here. For example, fuzzy matches, term search, we already did, fix badly converted text, paraphrase, this one is really nice too, and proofread, okay? This last one is the one that I showed on the slide, and it would be great if you could test it yourselves and let me know, or just use them to improve your results. Okay. Oh, sorry. Custom GPTs. You basically the summary of this, so it doesn't look untidy. You can prepare a framework so that, for example, what we just did, term researcher, I click this, and the same happened. The same happens that we just did. Okay, so let's say swimming. All right, but on ChatGPT, at least you can do that, and then you interact, and then you move on with the same interaction we had before, but with a predefined prompt. Okay. So yes, the time has come for the inquiries. Thank you so much. And yes, I'm all ears, and let's see what I can answer and what's going to be uh, left
Okay.
for the next time.
All right. Thank you so much, Martin. So, as I said, we do have a lot of questions, but
Whoa.
obviously, I don't think we're going to be able to get through all of them. But let's just let's give it a go. Okay. So, to start with, do you think that AI will ever be able to translate correctly literary texts? Will it be developed so as to confer feeling to the translated text? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a very, hot topic nowadays. I can only provide a personal answer to that. And what I see is that the developments keep surprising us by the day. Okay, so I I'm sorry, but I'm going to ask with a question. What if it does? Right? Yeah, I would say that.
Okay. Okay. Should we move on to the next one then? Could you
Sure.
give could you give an example of guardrails in the context of LLM models? The term usually has ethical dimensions.
Yes, I think I am not a developer and I haven't been that immersed into the backstage of large language models. But on the one hand, there has been a lot of effort in bias and connotation and inclusion and so on in terms of what we can expect from the models. Uh, but for example, if we are kind of using the model in the way I was doing now, like going to the website and so on, we can just include specific instructions in the prompt. We can say in the base prompt, or in if we do a custom uh, GPT, we can embed those guidelines in the basic information. The custom GPTs, I really like the way they work because they have, let me see here. Um, they have an option to upload context, and that context can be uploaded in the form of files. You may notice that I can't do two things at twice. Okay, sorry, but I was trying to here edit GPT. So on the configuration, on the settings of the model, you can upload files, and for example, these files can be guidelines, internal regulations, terms of reference, and so on. And let's say that we have a company that only uses neutral language, like, or non-gendered or non-biased language, and we can upload those guidelines there so that the model goes back to them whenever it's relevant. But one way that I would think of to establish a guardrail would be, for
Mhm.
example, by either typing in the guidelines or maybe including them here.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Um, there's been quite a few questions popping in about confidentiality issues, privacy data. So, if we just go with one of them, so what happens with data privacy? Marina says, I wouldn't input a source text into an LLM if it's not in the public domain.
Yes, this answer comes from my actual practice, and from information that I've gathered from different sources. Okay, for example, Yes, I agree. For example, I would not upload specific information to, for example, the website of ChatGPT. But if we go a bit further and start investigating, doing some research on how, for example, my CAT tool, my translation software, connects to via API key through the backstage to the models of Azure, ChatGPT, and so on, or personalized models, we see that the companies and OpenAI and the different providers of large language models offer you a secure connection, not only in the internet, but also to their models. And the key there would be reading the kind of the small type and the terms of usage of each platform. But what is kind of unsaid but offered is, or maybe said but not like 100% officially, I do this a lot, I've noticed, is that the developers and the software, the software companies and so on, tell you that if you want your information secured by a confidential and encrypted and so on connection, you should not go to the website, but include the language model in your translation, let's say, platform via API key, okay, which is your personal account with the information that you let's say in this case translate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
For translation, do you feel that ChatGPT, Gemini, etc., provide better results than Neural MT? Does DeepAL use NMT or Gen AI?
I really like that question. At one point, I was doing experiments with that, and the answer would be yes, as a general question, as a general answer. One of the some of the strengths that I would name as regards pre-translating text with large language models versus neural machine translation is context. Some 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 nuances of, for example, terminology usage um, or surrounding segments that are not directly are non-existent or are not that present in neural machine translation. I provide an example. I used to I'm a big fan of RuPaul's Drag Race. One of the winners of RuPaul's Drag Race said that she earned the crown and they put the crown on her head, and then she went back home and she didn't see the crown like up to, like, I don't know, several months later. Okay, so my point there was to do a follow-up of the it word, because every time I did the translation with neural machine translation, the it was eso, like the masculine for that, for it, okay? But the crown in Spanish is feminine, so era la, the feminine crown. I didn't see it feminine and so on. And when I put it through machine translation, I tried with different engines to see what happens. Some of them kind of got it at times, but it was the period of ChatGPT 3.5 evolving into 4 sort of thing, and the large language model got it right like a higher percentage of the time. I wouldn't say like all the time, but it was more context aware and sensitive. And something very similar happened, for example, with terminology usage regarding relevance, because some terms can be used somewhere and somewhere they are not usable. Tags, formatting, and so on. And neural machine translation sometimes does that well, and sometimes it kind of directly doesn't do it, or does it weirdly.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank
Is
you.
there any trick to avoid hallucinations, such as asking the LLM to not include information that is not liable?
Yes, definitely, and I think that's something kind of personal skill. You know how we have people skills, we have to develop LLM skills, but that doesn't come naturally. It's you know, of course, it comes naturally from us, but it's not that predictable. So it's a matter of interacting with the LLMs and do trial and error. But
Mm,
general concepts could be applicable. And in general, I repeat something that I heard several times, which is to avoid negative expressions and to prefer positive expressions, affirmative expressions. Let's say
mhm.
we can say literally avoid using this term instead of saying do not use this term. Okay,
Okay.
the affirmative expression will help. And another I didn't I wasn't too specific with the line that I added on side sources, but we can also say, please, I don't know, translate this paragraph.
Mm.
And for this specific part, I need you to do a special research, cite a source, and please provide current or official or so on source from the internet. So, and in that case, for example, Gemini goes directly to the internet, so they can cite a source. But in that case, I can kind of cross check with the internet and the LLM and so on. Usually, when it's restricted to the LLM, the search tends to be more, you know, more kind of weird. But another way of kind of doing some scaffolding around it would be to be more specific on, for example, where the sources should be or how or their characteristics and so on.
Okay, fantastic. Instead of typing the glossary within the prompt, is it possible to upload a glossary file, for example, the CSV format, and make the bot follow it? The same question applies to guidelines on style tone. For instance, uploading a style guide with a set of clear instructions. Mm.
Yes, the answer to all that is yes. And uh, Um, sorry if I always speak from the ChatGPT side, but that's the one that, you know, I had to choose like one subscription. I chose this one because I really like it, so I kind of tend to always speak from here.
Okay.
If you don't have this in your platform, um, for example, some platforms have this as a free feature, considering, you know, terms of confidentiality and so on, because the free subscription usually tends to be more free. But on the when I type the prompt, right, I type the prompt here, and I said I'm going to add one file, and we can add the files from here if we are doing it in the shape of a prompt. If we do it in the shape, for example, of a personalized GPT, we can choose to include the the baseline files, let's say, and the core information of the personalized GPT, or upload them on a case by case basis. We can resort to our Google Drive, to our OneDrive user. We can upload files from the computer. Let me see just very quickly um, if I can find one example where I uploaded a file. I think it's this one. Yeah, on this one, I'm sorry, this one is in Spanish, but here is an example of I how I uploaded the file. I uploaded a PDF file. Let me see if it opens. If it doesn't, then I can show you at some point. But I uploaded a file that had highlights, selected information, and so on. So I asked it to summarize the file, to provide some additional information, and so on. Okay, so what we were doing with this group was to interact not only with the interface of the LLM, but also including additional information. The file formats that can be uploaded are very varied. Let's say upload from the computer. We can, sorry about that. We can basically, at least to start with, to upload any type of file. Okay. And if the file type that we upload is incompatible, we can always kind of work around it. For example, I'm just thinking of situations. If it's a Word file and it doesn't work, turn it into an RTF file. The colleague mentioned CSV, I think. So if it's an Excel file, turn it into a CSV or TXT or tab file and so on. So, but yes. Summary of the answer, yes.
Yes, that's really helpful. How
Thank you.
much, in terms of percentage, do you use AI in your translation work?
Me personally, I am still investigating.
Yeah.
But the thing is, for example, I tend to use it more for terminology. While I'm speaking, I'm trying to look for the file, this PDF file. I tend to use it more in terms of terminology research, or sometimes also when I was working with specific texts. There was one specific text where the subject of the text was a female, and all the translations were biased into the masculine. So what I was doing, by means of an application, I created a keyboard shortcut to have a prompt take that sentence and do the gender modification. It's called, is it a he or a she or a they? So I ask it to provide, all the possible versions, and yeah, I was playing with that, doing terminology research, updating text, sometimes paraphrasing. But I don't tend to do it globally at the whole file level, but I go kind of segment by segment, and as per needed basis. Because if I may, I would like to do a small footnote here. All this is so exciting that sometimes we can spend like 2 hours on two segments. So it's
Sure.
great, to experiment, but also, like we have commented with colleagues, do kind of weigh off the benefits and the cost benefit situation, and see, where we can use this to actually help us work more efficiently, and so on. And since I mentioned, as far as I know, the thing is, some colleagues, agencies, organizations, and so on are already embedding AI processes or workflows or so on into their own systems. And when you get, for example, a pre-translated job to post edit, it may have probably gone through a large language model and so on. And that's why I mentioned, as far as I know, because I may also be working with AI process text. So, but I'm just not informed of that.
Yeah, okay. And this kind of leads on to this question being, so someone has asked, what do you prefer? So you mentioned that you prefer ChatGPT. And do you always, though, compare? So would you refer then to Gemini or Claude to see what they say, compare the results? But as you say, it can all be time consuming. So would you do that?
The reason why I tend to prefer ChatGPT is because I usually work with CAT tools, with computer-assisted translation systems, and I have connected both platforms together, so I don't have to go to the website or to think about, is this public, is this so
Hmm.
that's the reason why I kind of always go back to ChatGPT. But sometimes we get like stuck with something, and that's a great moment to consider saying, oh, let's see how Claude would solve this. So in
Right.
the same case as I was mentioning, like I would not go through the whole material with the I would also go to other platforms on a spur needed basis, in terms of, well, I was expecting something else, so let's see what this other source has to say about it.
Okay, brilliant. Um, I'm just checking the time now. I think we should probably just have one more question. We have actually gone through quite a lot already.
Nice.
So maybe then let's finish up on, do you see CAT tools becoming obsolete in, let's say, 5 years' time?
That's a lot of time. I think that's a lot of time because, well, as sometimes we discuss with colleagues, the future itself is uncertain, so we don't know what's going to happen next week. So I don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. But for now, let's speak from the short to mid term.
Yeah.
I would I see cat tools as being the scaffolding for all this. Okay, so they, in my view, they are important right now, and they will remain being super important. And of course, their relevance will depend on their evolution as well, and that evolution will be also related to how uh, all the technologies evolve. So yeah, my perception would be that. Thank you for that question. It was very interesting too.
Yes. Ah, thanks so much, Martin. It was such an insightful session. And from all the comments that are coming in the chat box, which obviously you can't see, it's clear that attendees have found it incredibly valuable. So thank you
Oh,
so
thank
much.
you.
Just to ask, quite a few attendees have been asking to have the shared document. I think some people did find it just wasn't working for them to add in their details, etc. But is it okay? I mean, do you think is it valid to share the link? Because I can add it to the follow-up email. I mean, is this a document really just for this session? Will people find it useful to access it after the webinar? Obviously, let me know your thoughts on that, but I presume we can just add it to the follow-up email that I will be sending to everyone afterwards.
Yeah, of course. I can include the slides, so you have a guiding,
Oh,
piece of
brilliant.
information. I can
Okay.
send you, this is for this session, so
Hmm.
everyone that has the link can open this. And in case, because it may happen that, for example, Google Drive doesn't let you access the file or edit it or so on. So what
Yes.
we can do, which is going to work basically the same, is open the file, and so far as we can open it, we can go to all the way up to the left, file. We can go to the option with the down arrow, which in this case reads descargar, download, and here we can, for example, download this file as an Excel file or a worksheet file. Okay, so you have
Okay.
all these options here. So it's not kind of exclusive for users that can go and edit the file. So you can download
Fantastic.
it and have it in your computer and so on. So yes, I'll
Okay,
send you the deck, the file, and any other information that may be needed.
wonderful. And maybe just while people are doing that, is it okay? Can I just ask one last question? Someone did just post
Sure.
saying, please, could you ask this? Is there a list of ready prompts? So they say, I mean the complex ones that translators can use for different functions. So is there a list with these ready prompts already that someone can access?
I I am if I can, I'm going to share AI for um I'm going to share a website with you which may prove even better than that, which is a community of um many different many different colleagues that are constantly uh working on that. There is not like a specific list of prompts,
Right.
but they can go to that website, create a free user, and interact with the community. I'm looking for the website right now. Sorry. A
Well,
ver,
don't worry.
login,
Again,
what's
you
new?
can just
Or
share
I
that
can
with
send
me.
the link. Okay.
Exactly. And then I'll add that to the follow-up email. Okay, Martin. Well, thank you once again. Thank you to everyone who has joined us today. So I think that wraps up our longer than planned webinar, but it's all good because obviously everyone has taken so much from this. So thank you so much. All right. I will now close the session.
Thank you
Is
so
that all
much.
good?
Yes.
I
Thank you
can
so
see
much,
you might be looking for something.
Sahila. Hi. Yeah, I found the website. So it's called
Okay.
AI for Language for Professionals. You can
Mhm.
go there, sign on, and you'll find a lot of stuff on prompts and techniques and so on. I'll send you the link anyways. Thank you very much, Sohaila, for all your support all this
Oh, you're
time.
welcome.
And thank you for all the colleagues who have joined the session, and we'll stay in touch. Bye.
Definitely. Take care, Martin. Bye. Bye, everyone.